Gerard, we are getting some breaking news. You mentioned the former president. He's back in the headlines again. We're learning this. A New York appeals court will now allow Donald Trump to post a smaller bond to guarantee his civil fraud judgment. So again, now he's going to have to guarantee $175 million within 10 days. He was facing about a $500 million bond. If he does so, the state will be prevented from seizing his assets while he appeals. Trump's lawyers had pleaded for a state appeals court to stop the collection, saying it was practically impossible. But now, again, Gerard, it's a lower dollar amount. Trump had said on Truth Social he's got $500 million. So this would, in theory, he'd be able to cover it on his own as opposed to seeking outside resources to cover the cost. Does this make a difference in the case?
It makes a huge difference. In theory, Donald Trump could cover it from the cash he has on hand. However, some of that cash is likely tied up in commitments to have cash on hand for other obligations like mortgages and loans. So it's not really $500 million that's available, but $175 million should be doable. We can't see a bond on this.
The fact that we waited until the very last minute, right? We were facing a countdown here. It seemed as though the AG was standing by, ready to seize the assets. I mean, what do you think about the timing of this change?
I think that Donald Trump has a magical way of making things happen at the last minute that works out to his favor. And good for him in this case that we're not having the drama of Letitia James trying to walk and padlock one of his buildings.
Right. And again, it comes at a time when the former president is facing another legal challenge. Again, this is the criminal trial, and he's in the courtroom right now. That's why our cameras are live in New York City. So how does he get this news? I'm kind of wondering, you know, if he's been following cell phones or who's updating him the fact that, by the way, when you were looking for $500 million, that's now reduced to 175.
Well, I think someone taps him on the shoulder and says, Mr. President, good news.
Yeah, right. And then just about the appeals process. Can you walk us through that now that you're paying this money? He still takes issue with the judge's ruling in that case. Again, this is the civil fraud trial, defrauding investors. He believes it was unjust. Talk to me about the appeals process and how he will make that claim going forward.
Well, the appeals process now is basically filing a brief that lays out his legal theory, including that the judge overstepped what he is allowed to do under New York law in this case, and that some of the findings were erroneous as a matter of law, and that the penalties imposed were egregious. And he will have the opportunity to submit that on the papers, and then his lawyers will argue it, and we can expect a decision some months from now.
Okay. All right. So we'll be watching again to see the appeals process, how he comes up with the money, if he'll explain exactly where the money comes from, or ultimately if he just kind of pays it.